Professor Dr. Aziza Abdullah, Assistant Vice Chancellor, Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement in UiTM. Yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Hanim Saleh, Deputy President, Malaysian Higher Education Institutions, Quality Assurance Network, MyQAN. Yang berusaha Ms. Loh Xiao Yan, Director, Division of Quality Assurance UTA. Our respected and esteemed speaker, yang berusaha Associate Professor Technology Dr. Syamsul Nur Azlan Muhammad, Director, Academic Assessment and Evaluation Division UiTM. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending MyQAN benchmarking visit to UiTM, OBE implementation opportunities and challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us start our event today by inviting yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Hanim Saleh, Deputy President, Malaysian Higher Education Institutions Quality Assurance Network MyQAN, to give her opening remark. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shahrul Nizam Ahmad from INCA UiTM. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. Yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Aziza Abdullah, Assistant Vice Chancellor, INCA UiTM, Ms. Loh Xiao Yan from Utah, MyQAN committee, MyQAN members, and all participants that are here with us today, this morning. I would like to welcome everyone to participate in this benchmarking visit, which is always going to be one of the main activities in MyQAN. And this time is with UiTM. Thank you, UiTM. And the title today is Effective Implementation of Outcome-Based Education. And I'm sure this is very important topic for all of us to benchmark, UiTM being one of the largest university in Malaysia. And I really hope everyone will get a lot of benefits from these sessions from MyQAN. And on behalf of MyQAN, I would like to thank MyQAN Training Unit for organizing this event, okay, mainly Prof. Dr. Aziza and also Ms. Loh Xiao Yan from Utah. And also not to forget the speakers for today. Our main spotlight is Associate Professor T.S. Dr. Syamsul Nur Azlan Muhammad, the Director of Academic Assessment and Evaluation Division, UiTM. So thank you so much, Dr. Syamsul, for being able to be with us this morning. Last but not least, I would like to also thank all those who have involved, and I think UiTM is hosting this event. Thank you so much for all the staff involved, as well as MyQAN members and participants who make this event a memorable one, inshallah. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much and enjoy the event.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Hanim. Next, I would like to invite yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Aziza Abdullah, Assistant Vice Chancellor, Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement INCA UiTM, to deliver a welcome remark. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shahrul Nizam Ahmad. I call him Dr. Nizam because we have two Dr. Shahrul here. We have Shahrul Azam, the other one. All right. Yang berbahagia Prof. Dr. Hanim Saleh, Deputy President of MyQAN. My dear friend, Miss Loh Xiao Yan, my partner in crime from the training unit of MyQAN. Our respected speaker, yang berusaha Associate Professor T.S. Dr. Syamsul Nur Azlan Muhammad, Director of Academic Assessment and Evaluation Division UiTM, MyQAN committee members, MyQAN members, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you everyone for attending this benchmarking visit. I'm not sure whether I should speak as the host or as the training unit, but welcome to UiTM online. Online. So today, this is the fourth event organized by the training unit. MyQAN, UiTM and UTA is the training unit members. We have had a few series training this year. One is benchmarking visit to OUM on success story of effective ODL implementation. Recently, we had effective micro-credential management webinar, which was presented by Prof. Karim, USM. So today's benchmarking is to learn the best practices of UiTM on outcome-based education, OBE. So I'm honored, we are honored to have and lucky to have Yang Berusaha, Associate Professor TS Dr. Shamsul Nur Azlan as a speaker, because I personally and professionally think that Dr. Sham is the best person to talk on the topic, and therefore we would like to thank Dr. Sham for accepting our humble invitation. I really hope that all of us will learn something out of this benchmarking. Thank you. Assalamualaikum and good morning.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Prof, for the speech. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us start our session today. I would like to invite our esteemed speaker, Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Technologies Dr. Shamsul Nur Azlan Muhammad, the Director of Academic Assessment and Evaluation Division, UiTM. But before that, let me read his short bio. He is holding a PhD in Education and Master in Educational Technology. His areas of expertise are in curriculum, e-portfolio, alternative assessment, learning, and predictive analysis. Now he is a Director of Academic Assessment and Evaluation Division in UiTM. He is leading the transformation of assessment at UiTM, expanding his interest into learning analytics by ensuring the quality, integrity, and flexibility in measuring students' performance. Therefore, he actively engaged in with ministries, industries, and private universities, also public universities, for research and consultation for Digital Maker Talent and Innovation Initiative. He is the recipient of UiTM Academic Award for Teaching Social Sciences and Humanities category in 2019. Such a great achievement, Dr. Sham. Congratulations. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me to welcome Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Technology Dr. Shamsul Nur Azlan Muhammad. Doctor.
Hello, Ms. Lo here. Before Dr. Shamsul start the presentation, can we take a group photo first?
Yeah, sure can. Zila, ready? Can you help me taking pictures?
Okay. Sorry. Okay, we have 4 pages here. Okay, first page. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Wait. Okay, second page. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, third page. Wait. Okay, third page. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. And last page. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zila. And the number of participants is definitely increasing now. We have 80 participants. And again, welcome, Dr. Shamsul, and the session is yours.
Right, thank you so much, Dr. Nizam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to Yang Berbahagia Deputy President MyQAN, Prof. Dr. Hanim Saleh. And I think that the important person at UiTM for quality, PNC Inka, Prof. Dr. Azizah Abdullah, MyQAN committee, MyQAN members, and also all the participants joining this session. Inshallah, today's session is going to be something I would like to share because of we are looking in the perspective of OBE. Because of maybe we have a constraint in terms of time, I try my best to a little bit narrow down the perspective to make sure that we can learn, and also we can share our maybe same interest, maybe same issue, and also the challenges. And perhaps I love to have some sort of a discussion along the way that I share my presentation. And of course, yes, I also have read all the question given based on the pre-registration survey, and I try my best to enlighten all the questions. And first of all, I would like to thank to MyQAN because for the invitation. I think that this is my first time with MyQAN, and inshallah maybe on October again with Seka, we have one more workshop masterclass inshallah regarding one topic. Inshallah I will share with all the MyQAN's community member after this. And for today's session is actually has been crafted by looking at one perspective. All right. And of course, yes, when we talk about outcome-based education issue and challenges, I think that most of us agree that we have a lot of issue around the corner. Not only we are talking about the curriculum, but also we believe that the issue might be raised from our delivery and also assessment. And when we talk about the outcome-based education, of course, that the assessment and evaluation is something that is very important to make sure that we are measuring the graduate based on the learning outcome has been designed by the higher education institution. And I think that most of us love to have this kind of scenario. All right, we meet together physically with our students, and we believe that with this kind of interactions, we become more satisfied when we deliver our teaching and learning. But again, when the pandemics come in, the situation change, and we have to adopt and adapt with the current situation. And surprisingly, from the 18 March 2020, we are nearly 2.5 years with the pandemic and the post-pandemic situation. And for this presentation, I would like to narrow down this presentation into the macro perspective and also the micro perspective. And I do believe that in terms of the micro level perspective, I maybe can touch a little bit because of the time constraint. And I think that I will discuss further in the masterclass in SECA 2022. All right. But for the macro level perspective, we are looking on how does the UiTM to make sure that the OBE become more stronger in terms of the governance and principles. We are realizing that they are very important for us to look back our assessment and evaluation ecosystem, because of when the pandemic happened, our bigger challenges is on how we measuring our students' outcome and attainment. And based on the macro level perspective, we will see how does the UiTM restructuring UiTM and evaluation ecosystem, and how does the augmentation of assessment and evaluation ecosystem has been embarked into UiTM along the way, maybe since 2 years ago. All right. And perhaps I see all of this question has been raised up. Especially some of the participants asking about what are the key initiatives will be put in to support the UiTM implementation, what are the major challenges, how does UiTM ensure the reliability and also the validity or integrity of the assessments. Some say that how do you measure the PLO, PO, or the other round is we are talking about the CQI. All right. And I would like to bring you what is actually happened to UiTM when the pandemic came to us on 18 March, and what are the process actually happened to us, and how does we reform, and how does we restructuring UiTM assessment and evaluation ecosystem. And we do agree that the pandemic COVID-19 give us a lot of impact because of at that particular of times, we are in the conditions of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty. We have a lot of little of clarity and whatnot, and everything is changing. Changing in terms of we deliver our teaching and learning, changing in terms of how do we assess our students. And because of that changes, we have to agree that we are dealing with the quality assurance because we are not practicing our program academic as usual. We are practicing our program academic in a new setting in which that everything must be in the forms of open and distance learning or online learning. And when we conduct our teaching and learning in that such of platform, because of the university don't have any experience conducting fully on online learning or ODL, so there are a lot of challenge happen to us. And of course, yes, when we talk about assessments on measuring our students, we start thinking of how valid we are, how reliable we are, and how can we put a trust in terms of the integrity of our testing. And starting from there, UiTM start to think of how can we stretch and focus on the alternative assessment, and how we want to make sure that it's happened within the times of maybe to 2020 to 2022 or now. And if we look on the impact of the pandemic COVID-19 into UiTM assessment and evaluation system as a whole, okay, on December, it's actually before the pandemic happened, December 19, UiTM is already talking about how can we reform and also restructure the assessment and evaluation ecosystem, and it has been discussed it has been discussed with the TNCAA strategic planning on how can we ensure that we can assess our student beyond the classroom. And from that workshop, we're putting a lot of idea on how to make sure this happen. But surprisingly, on 18 March 2020, our COVID-19 outbreak and our first MCOs happened. And this is where the VUCA happened to our situation, not only in Malaysia per se, but also it's happened to other countries worldwide. And on that times of moment, because of we less of experience, we see that, okay, we should embark with the ODL, we should deliver through online learning. On that particular of time, we just thinking on delivery. All right. So whatever situation it is, we need to make sure that the content is delivered, and we think later what happened to their assessment. And on that point of time also, we already stopped our final examination. We are not allowed to have any physical final examination. And all right, and there are a lot of issues and challenges need to be solved around within a year. And we see that there are a lot of area of concern or opportunity for improvement for the area number 1, area number 2, and area number 7. So in which that we need to re-establish the communication with the lecturers. We need to redesign our assessment. We need to foresee what are the issue of the testing administration. And seriously, I think that along the way, issue of integrity and academic misconduct is something that very big we need to address. And until today, and we start to revisit the policy, we start to see all the guidelines, all the advisory note to make sure that we can solve the problem within the time. And we do a lot of town hall, webinar, consultations, and we notice that there must be a need or urgency to reform our assessment into a new ecosystem to make sure that we can solve all the issue related to the students on measuring student achievement or measuring students outcome. And on that particular of times, the department who are taking care the final examination has been instructed to be hibernate the operations, and half of the staff has been disseminated into another department, meaning that this department is fully dysfunctions. All right. And along the way, all right, by looking at there are a lot of area of concerns, we agree that the area of concern should be turned into something good for us. Then we start to proposing to restructure the assessment and evaluation ecosystem, and we presented to our Majlis Executive University, and we start to re-establish a new department based on the rebranding. We call it as a bahagian pentaksiran dan penilaian akademik, or we call it as an academic assessment and evaluation division, who are not only taking care about the final examination, but taking care as a whole assessment at UiTM. So, because of what? Because of when we're talking about the quality assurance, we're talking about the validity and reliability or integrity of the testing. We need to agree that when we conduct our curriculums, especially when we conduct our course, there are some issues need to be really focused in, especially when we talk about the testing issue. So how can we appropriately testing our students? If you already publish, already develop your item, how good your item can test your students? Number two, how about your construct validity? When you're testing your students, how good your constructs? Interreliability. Of course, yes, for the university don't have any campuses, you might have a problem in terms of rating your students. And I do believe that for us, like UiTM, we have about 35 campus, we have 26 faculty, we have a course across faculty and campus. Interreliability is always an issue. All right. And again, without having that, we also have to combat the plagiarism, cheating, and deception and false information. Because of what? Because of the student already use the internet widely, they have a power in terms of access. How can we avoid them from plagiarism, from cheating, from deceptions? And at the same time, also, we have a difficulty in terms of the infrastructure is not well established. We have in terms of the internet connectivity, we have the problem in terms of device, we have a lot of problems within that time. And of course, yes, it also affected to delivery methods. It also affected to our assessment method. And by looking at that kind of scenario, we start thinking of what is the new approach of assessment method and task. We start to responding on the MQA advisory notes, bringing alternative assessment as a solutions. But again, we have a limitation in terms of content resources. We want to have that, we want to have everything, but again, we have a limitation in terms of content resources. And of course, yes, along the time, we have a lot of upskilling and reskilling program. And you have to agree with me, there are a lot of webinar, but somehow it become very destructive in terms of content. Too much webinar, too many webinars, somehow rather we put us in some in the situation of we have to choose which one the best because of the overwhelming of the webinar. We also have the overwhelming in terms of use of technology, and no doubt because of that situations, UiTM has to be very strategic in terms of upskilling and reskilling. We need to curate, we need to be more specific in terms of content and preference. So that's the reason why, to make sure that the delivery and assessment come and smoothly run, we need to make sure that everything must be contaminated and must be have certain controls to make sure that the teaching and learning can be implemented as what we want. And how does the UiTM stretching their focus on the alternative assessment? As I mentioned before, we are discussing about UiTM, to reform UiTM assessment ecosystem for quite some times. What makes things happen faster because of the pandemic? And we already stated that we try to reorientate our assessment beyond the standardized test and examination, and we want to establish the evidence-based learning. So from that, we are bringing the concepts of forward-thinking assessment principles, meaning that we are trying to shifting from teaching into learning. We focus on the evidence base of learning. We focus on the data-driven learning and assessment, learning analytics, learning experience, and integrative, also the collaborative, to make sure that the assessment can be done. Because of what? Because of the most important part, doing our program academic is to ensure that the learning outcomes is achievable and the student will be attain what they are supposed to be attained. And by translating that holistic ecosystem into a structure, we need to understand what are the current things that we need to look at. How can we come up with a new ecosystem and structure? So we should look on how can we design and develop the program and course assessment plan, looking specifically for the assessment. How could we manage assessment and evaluation process? Because we are not run our vision as usual. We are not only running or administer our exam physically, we also running our exam as online. And how can we ensure that the quality improvement is the exercise that periodically happen every semester? How do we use that data, and how do we use that data to make sure that we can improve from semester to another semesters? And of course, yes, based on the CQI report, we also have the risk management and control that we need to look at. Because of what? The reporting of CDL CQI, the CQI is not only just a reporting. How do you translate into the information that we can disseminate to another units or divisions, and how we can use that to minimize our risk, and we can control and contain the issue that happen around our university. And of course, yes, along the way, we need a very good support and services from the university to make sure that we can overcome all of these situations. And I would like to share with you what is actually happened to our existing UiTM assessment and evaluations. All right, this department has been established for quite some times. In 1997, it's a very old department. They just focus on managing final exam. They just focus on managing examination timetable, administer the final exam, do all the student performance and reporting, and they are also get their own SIRIM certification for quite some times. All right, from 1997 until 2021. And because of the restructuring, we need to oversee all of these functions because of the unit, the existing unit cannot be only focused on the final examination only. They have to expand their functions, they have to expand their expertise, they have to expand their resources by looking at the three areas: area number 1, area number 2, and area number 7. So if you look at this three area is very important to make sure that the new assessment division can help the university to oversee the whole academic assessment by not looking at final exam only. So we start to remapping all this area, and we start to thinking of what are the biggest element that we should address. So if you look at the area number 1, area 2, 1.25, 1.32, and 1.35, we think that the designs and development of assessment and evaluation at program level and course level is very important. So there is a need to see that how does the program academic design their program assessment? How does the program academic design their course assessment plan? And of course, yes, on the design part, it's not enough. We need to make sure that how can we manage the continuous assessment? How can we manage the summative assessment? How can we manage the online assessment? And how can we control the integrity and academic honesty? At the end of the day, we can do all the student reporting and result reporting for the sake of the purpose of the students and also the university. And the last part is we need to ensure that the area number 7 we cannot only stop at reporting the student result, but also we need to see what happened to the students, what happened to our lecturers, what happened to our program, how about their PLO attainment, how about their CDL CQI monitoring, what are the issues, how can we delegate the issue, how can we resolve the issue. And we also do our assessment and evaluation audit with the helps of INCA. We collaborate together and we do our auditing together, and we already construct our own item to revisit or to recheck whether the faculty or the campus fulfill all the requirement of assessment and evaluation at UiTM. So on that note, the restructuring we call as a bahagian pentaksiran dan pilihan academic assessment and evaluation division starting on the 1st February 2020 has been established according to these 3 areas, and there are the 3 units that is the bigger functions for the division. So the first unit is looking on the assessment and evaluation developments. This department is taking care on the managing assessment and evaluation policy and guidelines. We are the persons that are looking at the design and the developments of the programs and also the course level. We do all the consultation and training. We also are who are taking care on the integrity and academic honesty. For the second unit, they are covered totally on the area number 2. All right, how they manage the continuous assessment and summative assessment, the online assessment, the student reporting and whatnot. And the other unit is looking at the quality part. So as I mentioned before. So these are the structure. How does the reformation has been happened to make sure that the UiTM can come up with the holistic assessment ecosystem. And this unit has been established maybe about one and a half year. We can see a lot of impact, especially assessment and evaluation at UiTM. And the restructuring is not stopped here because we need to revisit what is actually UiTM has been done. So we need to put our mind and effort to re-strategize and start to remapping UiTM assessment and evaluation ecosystem into our national education philosophy, UiTM vision and mission goals, our Malaysian education blueprint in higher education, and also our university educational objective. And based on this as a pillar, then we start to remap and we start to operating our office according to this conceptual framework. And from there, we're able to publish our policy guideline process related to assessment and evaluation. We have a very good structure and governance, and we know how can we measure our graduates and what are the impact of the students after graduation or during they are with us with our program academics. So these are the remapping of the UiTM assessment and evaluation ecosystem, and all of this has been measured by our department, and we also doing our R&D towards on to make sure how can we sustain all of this measuring approach. And the process of restructuring, UiTM has been augmenting a lot of things to make sure that these are the process what's actually happened on that divisions to make sure that we can strengthen our outcome-based education by looking at the perspective of assessment. So as earlier that I mentioned on the phase 1 on 2020, we are thinking about the initial birth. We are re-emerging all the expert and resources. We start thinking on the concept, and we start to establish all and start to reorganize all the available resources and start to resolving the internal and external issue and happen at UiTM. And on 2021, we want to become more bolder. We focus on the restructuring, vision, missions, and scope. What are the sustainable models and what our strategic action planning, And these are the numbers of the item that has been established for by 2021. We're establishing our policy, we're establishing our academic integrity pledge, our standard procedure our standard procedures for assessment and evaluation review, our guideline for physical and online exam, CDR secure and reporting, and also we focus on the staff competency, upskilling and reskilling program. And all of these things happen on 2021. What happened to the phase 3 this year, 2022? We strengthened up our ecosystem. We are looking at the holistic view on how we can improve our UiTM assessment and evaluation. We also towards on digitalizations, meaning that there are paperless in terms of conducting our final exams, and we start to think on the risk management. And for this year, we start to establish our question bank systems, in which that all the questions has been pumped into the system, and the system will generate the exam paper questions. It can be used for the physical examination, also online examinations. We start to strengthen our learning management system for the assessment module. We have our online assessment and e-proctoring. And also we start to look at how can we expand the quality of assessment and evaluation in the perspective of monitoring and reviewing. And this is where my division and also INCA, we work collaboratively to make sure that we can have a cross-reference in the sense of looking at to improve the faculty and campus across the program. And this collaboration is a very good collaboration because we are sharing our intel, we are sharing our resources and expertise, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we can raise the quality of program academic. And along the way, we also establish our assessment and evaluation, research and developments. We are currently, because we know that our outcome-based education putting a lot of initiative, for example, Excel, SDG, future-ready curriculums, micro-credentials, Sulam and everything. These are the point that we are looking at certain point that we think that very important for us to investigate, to do some sort of investigations. I think that based on this initiative, assessment and evaluation research development, we already done our research on SDG competency outcomes, and also we are currently focused on our research on open book examinations. And our third research is we are looking at the metacognitive processes happen to our students in higher educations. So there are a lot of research and R&D is actually happen here to make sure that we can improve the quality of the students, we can improve the student ability, and this outcome has been shared with many parties to make sure that we can synergize and we can do this together. And by phase 4 on 2023, all right, on the last phase, we are looking on the synergy, because of I do believe that the division itself cannot work alone. We need to have more alliance and counterpart to make sure that we can strengthen our assessment and evaluation ecosystems. We focus on the decentralization because of we already embarked into the digitalizations, and we start to look at the sustainable implementations, and we want to make sure that the assessment can become as a R&D hub to make sure that we can expand the potential of the students. I do believe that when the MQF 2.0 has been published, there are a lot of potential in terms of research and R&D can be done to make sure that we can explore the measurement and also on how can we assess our students. And if we recap back, how does this disadvantage become advantage? I think that this article somewhere on 2020, there are one survey has been conducted by the STAR, according to the exercising of alternative assessment, online exam, and mixed mode. in the perspective of assessment. So what I have shared here is UiTM see the opportunity that we should go assessment beyond classroom. We believe that can be happen. So meaning that we need to make sure that we come up with a new strategy, with a new method to make sure that we can do this, we can fulfill all the learning objective, but we have to come up with a new solutions. And when that things happen, we aggressively, all right, because of that effects of because of the pandemic effects, we aggressively reduce 50% of our final examination for every program academic and implemented the question bank systems, meaning that as before pandemic, we are exercising final examination almost 60 to 70%. We turn over it into less than 30 to 70%. So meaning that currently the final examination is going to be happen at UiTM in the range of 25 to 30% final examinations, and most of it is the alternative assessment, meaning that the lecturers and the students will have the experience more than the physical examination. So we've put so much effort and strength to make sure that we can deliver this new ecosystem, and this transition is not easy because of we need to get some buy-in from the lecturers and of course from the top management. And because of that, we do a lot of communication strategy with our lecturers and also our top management to make sure that what has been we initiate is been translated in the forms of communication. So we put our idea, we put our aims and strategy in the forms of webinar, and we materialize it according to the input given by the expert. So these are a few webinars that we design not only for the purpose of listening on the content, but it's actually drive this division to ensure that we can come up with a new strategy in overcoming the assessment and evaluation at UiTM. And of course, yes, I do believe that when we conduct our assessment and evaluation, there is some sort of pertinent issue, especially when we talk about the misconceptions of formative and summative assessment. So I think that when we conduct our survey with our lecturers, even with outsiders from the university, they still have a confusion. How can they distinguish the difference between formative and summative assessment? So, hello. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. And what I want to share here is these are the first thing that we need to look at, because of I think that most of our lecturers or maybe some of our friends have this kind of misconception. Because of what? Because of they thought that the formative assessment is something that need to be great. For your information, if you look at the context of formative assessment, it's more towards on the prioritizing, initiating more on the learning experience to make sure that the student can interact with us, give us some feedback, we can observe their performance, and this will help us to indicate us how does the students react in our class. But the summative assessment is totally different, because of when we talk about the summative assessment, something that we grade our student at the end of the project, at the end of the units, at the end of the course, at the end of the semester, at the end of the programs. So these are the things that we need to highlight. And I do believe that there are some of the program standard also have a confusion about this. All right, I do check across 24 or 25 program standard. They are also have a confusion when we talk when they talk about the formative and summative assessment. And I do believe that to ensure that this misconception is not happen, inshallah on in October 2020, in this October, the new good guideline assessment will be published by MQA, and they will start to they start to give us a very clear how can we distinguish the formative and summative assessment, and how can we manage our assessment as a whole. So the document still on the process. I think that all the panels still polish their document. Inshallah, maybe somewhere on this month they will bring it into the consoles. All right, and I think that not only about the misconceptions, we also have an issue in terms of testing. We have issue in terms of the considering what is the best quality item to publish. We also have a problem in terms of marking and giving feedbacks. And I do believe that we also have a problem in terms of moderation techniques. I think that is across the board. I think many of us have an issue in terms of moderation. And we also have a debate in terms of the frequency of distributions, the center of tendency, and also the item validity. And I do believe that these are the 4 issues currently happen to across the university. So we are start thinking of how can I as a lecturer publish a good items to make sure that I can achieve my outcome. But to publish a good item is not necessarily you need to have a very complex questions, right? So or the other way around, should I look at a different opportunity? For example, I want to embark with an open book testing or open book examination, but I don't know how to conduct on how to design the open book test or examination. I want to give a marks, but maybe my rubric is not quite good. My answer scheme is very rigid or some sort of it. Or maybe after you are giving marks, you have issue with the moderations. Can I do a single moderations? Can I do a double moderations? Can I do a selective moderations? These are the things still under the discussion, and we still talk about it. So there are a lot of things on regards on the assessment we should look at, because of the OBE is not about the delivery only, but we also talking about how can we assess our student appropriately. So maybe I want to stop here to give the audience, maybe you have a question and answer on regards my presentations, please.
Yeah, we can.
Any questions?
Yeah, we can allow some questions here, Penny.
Yeah. Maybe we have a same issue on regards on conducting our assessment. I do believe that we are quite good in terms of delivery now. I'm Mira Kartiwi. Yes, Mira.
Yes.
Dr. Mira. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much for the presentations. I think it's a very timely, and I'm so glad that I attended these sessions. We shared a lot of values, and we shared a lot of visions about educations, that it should be assessed properly, not only delivered properly.
Yep.
I'm actually I'm heading the Center for Professional Development, which is teaching and learning is part of the portfolio. Since that in UiTM seems that you have a separate office that handle that, right?
Yep.
How do you make sure that those visions that you have is also integrated with other centers that are actually focusing on delivery? At which stage do you do that?
All right, thank you so much. Very good questions. Our division is under the TNCAA office. So meaning that at the TNCAA office, we have 3 divisions. The first division who are taking care on the curriculum. The second division taking care of the academic processes. And the third division taking care of the assessment and evaluations. So each department do their job, but again, they are synchronized together. So they are working together. So we don't have any problem in terms of communicating and whatnot, because of we are doing this process together.
Okay, so that would include the evidence-based learning you mentioned earlier?
All right, the evidence-based learning. All right, okay. For the evidence-based of learning, yes, we are focused on the evidence-based of learning. Currently at UiTM, we have the student e-portfolio, and all the students can park their work their tasks, their everything in the portfolio, and we can use the e-portfolio not only to storage their achievement, but also they can storage their extra co-curriculums, they can storage everything, and they can use that not only for the academic purposes, but also they can use for the graduate employability. And along the line, we use that also for the for the alumni, for those who are completing their study, and we can use as a database to keep track our alumni. So that's the evidence base of learning, not only purposely used for the academic purposes, but it's more than that. Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, welcome. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Melissa, right? You need to unmute.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Prof, I want to ask because the start of the bahagian that already set up in February 2021, I believe this is at university level that
Yeah.
how this committee is actually help to oversee the qualities of the entire university level, the assessment. Okay, so may I know that, okay, because this one you all have implemented, I think about a year already, that's why you have the management division, the development unit, management, and the third one is about the audit.
Yep.
So can I ask that maybe can Prof share about the third unit, which is talking about the evaluations and the audit part? Because I believe that beside this bahagian, definitely every faculty and program level, they do have this so-called external assessor helping to do the evaluation. So maybe Prof, you can share with us the bahagian, especially for the audit part, and also how we actually synchronize maybe the audit outcome that conducted by this bahagian, and how we actually also take into the feedback from the individuals, external assessor for their feedback in terms of the assessment.
All right. Okay. Very good. So, okay. I think that is quite interesting because of the assessment and evaluation audit is a very interesting unit, because of this unit is looking at the post activity. So meaning that we are looking at the quality. That's the reason why this unit cannot work alone. We need to work with INCA, because of INCA looking at COPIA, we are looking at COPA. So by looking at COPA, we are looking at all those 7 areas. And but usually all the program academic need to submit their report, CDL-CQI, every semester. And all of this reporting has been done through our system. All right. So meaning that the students, the lecturers need to fill up all the data, all the area of concern and whatnot. And this unit need to reassess all of the content. So they need to read, they need to reassess, and they need to come up with a data. So meaning that this unit will give us a very good report in the sense of to make sure what are the area of improvement we need to overcome. So from area number 1 until area number 7, and we start to pinpointing who are the persons should taking care of the solutions. Normally, how we divide the issue. Normally, for the internal issue that can overcome by the faculty or campus, we leave it to them. Normally, they will submit to us the issue and area of concern that they are not able to solve. This is where the unit taking care and they start to respond on that particular issue. All right. So that's the one part. So meaning that they are monitoring on the CDL, CQI periodically, semesterly, and we need to report this at least 3 times a year. 3 times a year in our curriculum community board. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, we did our internal audit across faculty and campus. So we select faculty and campus, and we audit their assessment and evaluation process. For this part, we know that we have the area number 1 and number 2 and number 7. What this department did here is we start to expanding the interpretation of area number 1, 2, and 7 into a several item. So from area number 1, area number 2, and area number 7, we start to establish almost 43 items to check the management system of assessment and evaluation at UiTM. So meaning that this is our internal auditing check to make sure that all the faculty and campus fulfilling all the process. And when we conduct the audit, we check area by area, and after that we give the results and marks, and they will do the interventions along the process. That's the reason why I say that we really need to cooperate with INCA, because we run the audit together. All right. And number 3, we are not only limit our exercise in terms of auditing the people or how the program has been executed. We also auditing the paper has been published by the lecturers, especially final examination papers or online assessment papers. So normally per year we will assess about 200 papers, and we start to see what are the issue and challenges happen by the test developer, and we start to do our trainings and we start to do our interventions time to time. It's a quite rigorous in terms of looking at the auditing part. There are a lot of job need to be done by this unit, because of this unit only have about 3 or 4 people, but it's been supported by internal auditor that really very helpful and always give us a support. All right. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
Yeah, any more questions?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, I'm Fridelina from Unicel.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I have 2 questions here.
Yep.
Okay, about the summative assessment.
Yep.
Okay, this one we only know that for summative assessment, it must cover all the CLOs. We must do the assessment to cover all the CLOs. But currently we got to know that for the summative assessment, it is not necessary to cover all the CLOs stated before. So maybe can cover 2 out of 3. So we would like to know your opinion about this. And for the second one, for the CLO, there will be covers on the cognitive, affective, and the psychomotor. So maybe you can advise us the distribution between these 3 in developing the assessment and also the cost, the structure, the curriculum structure. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. I answer first the question number 2. There is a need for the course need to have cognitive, affective, and psychomotor along together. It's actually not, because it's depending on how you distribute your PLO, program learning outcome. There are some courses that they only just focus on the cognitive. There are some focus maybe have 2 out of 3 domains. Maybe some of the course maybe have 3. It's depending on how do you delegate your program learning outcome. And I think that again, we need to make sure that all of this is accessible. So if you look on the program standards, or even from the other document, there is no mentions about that we need to have all 3 or all 2 in the one course. All right, it's depending on how you distribute your program learning outcomes. Okay, it goes back to the summative assessment. All right, for the summative assessment, yes, we need to measure all the learning outcomes that we promise in our course, because of the summative assessment. Whereas you will see and you will make a judgment, you will make a conclusion that the student has been achieved that outcome or not. All right, so clearly you need to make sure that all the outcome has been measured through the summative assessment. Perhaps not the formative assessment. All right, formative assessment is different. You can only focus on certain areas. You can use that as a signal, as a feedback, as a diagnostic approach, give you some sort of idea on how to overcome the issue in your classroom. All right, so these are the 2 questions that I can ask for now. All right.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. A question from Prof. Hanim.
Yep.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
I have a question. I'm
Yep.
not sure if you have covered just now.
Yeah.
But you know, like a lot in a lot of universities, we've been talking about some of the gaps due to the COVID, the
Yep.
pandemic.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if in UiTM, do you actually look into all the learning outcomes that perhaps for each of the programs, especially programs with skills and also you know, which you cannot get through online? Do you actually go through and audit those programs and
Yes.
maybe make sure that they achieve? And do you do, like, you know, top up courses or something like that? Yeah, I just want to know, how do you go about solving those?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Prof. Yes. We have to admit that there are a lot of gap happen. I think that in the first round of MCO, I think that most of the practical assessment cannot be conducted, and they need some kind of postponement, all right, to bring that into another semesters. Yes. At UiTM we call as a tidak lengkap. All right. So there are a lot of courses we call as a tidak lengkap on the first phase of the MCO. What we did is when we get some sort of openness in terms of bringing back certain students to the campus, we start to focus on those kind of students who are really needs more the physical, those are really need that kind of treatment. So meaning that, for example, for the student hotel and management, for example, so because of on the first MCO, they cannot do their practical assessment. When the ministry opened the gates and let the student to come into the university, then we prioritize this kind of student to come in and start to do all the interventions. And of course, yes, the intervention is not only occur while the minister give some sort of special treatment for these people, but also the intervention happen after the situation become getting better and better. So the intervention process is always happen. And I think that most of the faculty and campus did this thing because of every area of concern about the gap has been reported into our CDI. So from there, we help the faculty and campus to address all of this issue. And I think that because of that, the top management aware, and they think that this is very important to solve before the students finish their study. Because of we already listened that they are comparing our graduate pandemic COVID graduates and also the before COVID graduate. So we want to make sure that there are a little of in terms of gap in to publish our graduate for future. All right.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Do you actually formalize it and bring it to the Senate? You know, showing all the process of
Yes.
the gap.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Every output of this division has been published to the Senate for the Senate acknowledgement. Because of that, all the Senate members aware, and they start to become more informative and responsive when we deliver our content and perspective of assessment as a whole at UiTM.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Yep.
Shah, Sultan Shah from UiTM Melaka.
Hey, sahabat saya ni. Dr. Sadli.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to ask regarding summative assessment at the end of the semester, which is final exam lah. Usually, the usual case.
Yes, correct.
But if you look at the SLT, by right, the students should have complete 17 weeks for assessment. So it becomes a bit of a challenge for workshop subjects that do not have final exam, but they are not allowed to make use of the final 2 weeks of the semester because of the academic regulation lah. So what's your opinion, and also what is the UiTM policy on that lah, if you can share?
Very good question, Dr. Shazali. I think that UiTM has faced this at the first time. What we did here is we start to do revisions on that particular of subject, meaning that we start to redefine our final examination into final assessment. So meaning that our final assessment can be happen within week 15 until week 17. On the final assessment, we mentioned that under final assessment, the subset is a final examination and alternative assessment. So meaning that you have the final assessment, the subset is final examination and alternative assessment can be happen within the period of time week 15 to 17, meaning that we are spending the time for the students to complete their assignment, but we need to do some sort of adjustment for the particular week 15 to week 17. Because of what? Because of our normal exercise, we just only allow the final assessment within week 13 or within week 14, right? So students were not able to complete that kind of they are not able to complete based on our survey, based on our observation. The student cannot be complete or within week 14. They need more extra time. That's the reason why we start to revisit our definitions of final assessment. We revisit the duration of time, and we start to revisit the SLT, the student learning time. This is how we overcome the issue of time, because of the students quite stressed with the numbers of the assignment. And one more thing here is the UiTM we start to limit our numbers of assessment only 4. So meaning every courses, they are only allowed to have only 4 assessment per course. Okay. Right. So with the limitation of numbers and with the excess of week, and I think that the student able to complete their assessment. So
okay.
All right.
Thank you. But how? Sorry. Follow up. How about how to operationalize in terms of timetabling?
All right. Okay. At UiTM, we introduced the structured assessment mechanism. So we divide the student assessment according to the block. All right. So I think that I can share with you the document. Let me to share with you. I need to search first. Okay. If structured assessment mechanism. All right. So because we are talking about the operationalizing the things, so I need to find the document first. Wait, yeah. Right. So very good questions, because of these are the things happen to our student, because of they start complaining about their stressfuls, their everything, and we start to think on what is the creative solution to make sure that the student is able to submit their assignment on time. So wait, yeah, take me some times. Okay, for the time being, if you have a question, you can ask me a question before I looking at the document. All right.
Prof.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Another question actually.
All right. Okay. It's okay. No problem.
In the meantime, how about ODL program? Their assessment, is it e-proctored, online proctored exam, or I don't know lah, because I don't have any experience about ODL program. But I think UiTM has ODL program. So if you can share, thank you.
Okay, at UiTM, our learning management system, UFuture, we have the e-proctoring system. So meaning that all the most of the program doing through our LMS, they can use the existing they can use the LMS to make sure that they can conduct a very what we call a very legit and integrity testing. So for ourselves, we have our e-proctoring. All right, so we don't have any issue about that.
So meaning you have a kind of a policy lah for e-proctoring, meaning student need to always on their webcam and so
we
on.
not so called as a policy. We have the guideline to assist our lecturers and also the student about the online assessment. So we have that. Okay. All right. Okay. This is on regards Dr. Sazali questions. How do we ensure that the students they are really submit according to the time? So this is what we call as a structured assessment mechanism. We want to make sure that we are focusing on the quality of assessment and evaluations, and also we do some sort of adjustment in terms of the numbers of the assignments, the feedback, and also the marking according to the block. So this is our 14 weeks calendar plus 21 days for our final examinations or final assessment. So every single blocks, because of we are limiting our assignment into 4, all the lecturers and also the student have to be aware that at least 1 or 2 assignment has been given on this particular of time. So we have a certain range that the students should submit their assignment, when they should get their feedback, and also how can we monitor their progress. As I mentioned before, we are redefine our final assessment. That is where the week of final examinations and also our final assessment has been conducted. So this is what we call a structured assessment mechanism. We have been used this about maybe last two semesters ago, and I think that it works very well because of we conduct our action research on regards the significant and the positive impacts having the structured assessment mechanisms. So it seems like the lecturers and also the students, they are improving significantly towards the positive improvement in terms of submitting the assignment. So these are the initiative and the process has been think of by the university to make sure that we can distribute the energy and the strength to make sure that the student is not fatigued, the lecturer is not fatigued. They both of them, they are not stressed because of we already given them a very what we call the guide on how to handle and how to manage the assessments. So this is one of the examples. How do we manage?
Okay, thank you, bro.
All right, okay, welcome.
Thank you for the questions. Shamsul, do you have another part of the presentation or? No,
I am done.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm done. All right.
So we still have like 5 more minutes for questions. You have any? Yep. Wait, there is one question from the chat box. So I'm Sarifah from Kuis. I would like to ask an opinion, how would we improve student assessment in short term without restructuring our academic management department, which also...
Okay, that's the thing that I want to focus because of the first part is looking on the macro perspective. I have another set of sharing into the micro perspective. I think that I wasn't able to share it today, but I think that you can join me on the SECA 2022 organized by UTA, and then more discussion about how can we restructure our assessment based on our own class or based on our teaching codes. So it's manageable. We can do it. We can do it. Just a matter of today, we don't have ample time to discuss about it. But in my presentation, I already put it, the process as a lecture perspective.
Yeah, perhaps they can join you later in
Yeah, please. All right, doctor. Okay, doctor, within week 15 to week 17, where the course have the final exam and alternative assessment. Okay, it's actually, yes, we agree that we have the continuous assessment and final assessment. At UiTM, we do believe that because we are conducting structured assessment mechanism, means that until week 14, all the continuous assessment is already done. We consider that as already done. We just need only to focus on the final assessment, in which you can have the final examination physically or online, or you can have the final assessment in the form of alternative assessment. So that's what I mean, that the week 14 and week 17 is not only focused on the final examinations. We should looking at the final assessment too, because of the culture of assessment is totally different. All right. I think that one more note. Okay. To give you some sort of, I think that it's good to share with all the participants, because of we are discussing quite abroad in terms of assessment and evaluations. Perhaps this can benefit to all participants. All right. The first one I would like to share here is, please come join and visit our YouTube, because of we are sharing a lot of the new modern and new perspective of assessment and evaluation. So we talk a lot with all the experts. So you can see Prof. Sohaimi here. You can see all the big figures on the OBE and whatnot. So they are sharing about the perspective and the dimension of assessment in the new modern era. And I think that on regards to address all our fellow members, talking about the perspective, in the perspective of lecture, on how can we do some sort of adjustment or remodification on our course on regards of the assessment. I hope that you can join me at the masterclass facilitator on our SECA event, inshallah. So on this topic, we will talk about, the topic here is, as I not to forgot, designing higher education and sustainable assessment. So these are the topic, and this topic is more towards on the how does the lecturers can operating, or how does the lecturers can adjust the assessment according to the current situation. So these are the context for the masterclass we will bring in for the next coming October, inshallah. All right.
Yeah, if I may, I'd like to reiterate, it's going to be happening on 12th October 2020, as shared by the chat box here. It's on designing innovative and sustainable assessments for higher education. Probably we can have greater and deeper discussion there.
Yes, yes, perhaps.
Probably we can have at least one or two more questions before we can end the session.
Yep. Okay, when we talk about readjusting our assessment, no doubt, one of the biggest element that we need to see is the first number one is student learning time. Of course, yes, because of the time spending, I think that we require a lot of independent learning. We required more on the facilitation instead of lecturing. That's number one, yes. Number two, we are talking about the table of specification. So how do you distribute your testing instruments or testing approach to make sure that you can address all the learning outcomes? Maybe some of us thinking of the table of specification is only for exam. Okay. I think it was not, because of the table of specification can be used for the continuous assessment, for the final assessment and final examination, just a matter of what you want to highlight. All right. And some of the people, some of the university also agree that the table of specification is a way to make sure that you can check your construct and item validity. So to make sure that you are testing with the right instruments, with the right weightage, with the right proportion of knowledge, with the right dimensions of knowledge. All right. So I think that there are a lot of discussion. Can we can debate and share, because of when we talk about testing, there are a lot of variables we can count in.
Yeah. Yeah. Madam Aliza said that probably, they could give you a visit later, Dr. Syam.
No problem. You can come my division. We can have some sort of discussion and sharing. I think that most of the I think that a lot of university and also colleges come to our divisions and learn and share how to modify our assessment. How do we see our assessment in a different perspective? And I think that recently, instead of looking on the closed testing or closed book testing, we are start looking on the potential of open book testing. So it's something that we should explore, and it's something that we should discuss about it, because of we are looking at how good and how creative the lecturer designed the questions. And of course, yes, when we design the open book test questions, we are not looking for the right or wrong answer. We are looking at the best solution that can be provided by the students according to their personal context, maybe according to their environmental factors, maybe, or other things. So these are the things that might change the way that we are looking assessment for future. All right.
Yeah. Probably one last question, Dr. Syam. This is something that I pick up from the list of questions that that I shared with you earlier. So when we talk about UiTM, people are more concerned on how we are overseeing many campuses and many faculties, because you're saying that you have only 4 people under your unit, and how do you actually manage to make sure that everything is in order?
All right. It's actually the team members of this division. We have about 30. All right. 30, 28 is administrative staff, and we have 2 academicians, and supported by 4 academic fellow, and we also have our Jawatan Kuasa Nobel across faculty and campus. They are the what we call the nerve of our division to make sure that everything is in order, because of every communication is straight away has been delivered to all of these people. Jawatan Kuasa Nobel, we have about 150 people across faculty and campus. They are the person that materialize that what has been strategized by us, and they are the person helping us to mechanize everything, to make sure that things happen at their faculty and campus.
Okay, thank you very much. I think if there is more, if there is no more questions, I believe that Dr. Syamsul has covered a lot in this session. So if you have questions, probably you can email him later, or the best way to understand this better, definitely to join SICA. SICA is an annual event by MyQAN, and this year's host is UTA. So it's going to be happening at the Bangi Resort Hotel. So I think I welcome everyone to join this event. Well, actually, Dr. Syamsul, we have a special gift for you, but since this is online, it's going to be delivered to you slightly later.
All right, no problem.
We thank you very much for your kind sharing today. I think everyone is benefited a lot from the session. And we thank also all the attendees for attending this event on behalf of Training Unit MyQAN, and also UTA. We thank you very much. It has been an honor to have Dr. Syamsul today to give the talk. So I hope all of you had a fruitful session and gained definitely a lot of knowledge today, which you can apply at your respective university. See you again soon, inshallah, under MyQAN event. Thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye.